Do you have tons of business ideas? Do you want to transform your ideas into thriving business? Well, in this episode, we are joined by Samuel Moses, an expert at doing just that. Samuel's mastery of the B2B client experience, automation, and business growth makes this conversation essentially for any entrepreneur. So I hope you like this episode. I'm your host, Ash, and this is a show where I interview proven founders and industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you build and launch your business. Great. Samuel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me.
Great. Do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah. I have this book that I read in college. It was an amazing book by this gentleman Art Berg, who got into this car accident and he was paralyzed, and he ended up becoming like a professional speaker, and he reached all of his goals in his life even with being paralyzed. And when he was in the hospital, he was struggling there, obviously with his new situation and with his future ahead of him that he was so unsure about. And his mother said to him in the hospital, the impossible just takes a little longer, which he kind of used as a theme in his life. And that's the name of the book that he wrote. And I remember being in college and being like, I want to do all these things and I want to build all this stuff. And thinking about how impossible that might be. Obviously a very different situation than what he was going through, which was very tragic. But I just kind of stuck to that line. Like, the impossible just takes a little longer, because there are times in business and in life that you're up against things and you're like, this just looks impossible. But I kind of have that mindset of, okay, it's impossible. It's just going to take longer than I probably want it to take. And then it keeps you motivated to keep going. So that's one line that I definitely cling to as things get a little bit tougher as we go.
Yeah. And this makes me think, like, it is indeed, isn't it? Whatever we are doing and we feel like it is impossible or tough or kind of like, it's making me too much under pressure, making me feel too much under pressure, and we're like about to give up. But then if we have something like this in our life, which say, oh, just hold on to it for a little more longer, and then
Yeah, I find that sometimes people just give up too quickly, and they would have persevered. If they would have persevered and they would have tried to persevere, they would have been successful. But they just give up too quickly, and you see that in business quite a bit. People are just leaving the business way too early, and sometimes there's legitimate reasons, and sometimes people leave too late. But sometimes it's just too early. You haven't given it a fair shot. You haven't gone through the avenues. You haven't gone through the mistakes and figured out how to improve them. Right. So. Yeah, that's something that I definitely cling to, and that's a good question.
Perfect. Great. So Samuel, tell us about yourself, who you are, why should our listeners listen to you, what kind of services you provide, and what's the main problem you're trying to solve here?
So great. So I'm a founder of a company called Socrates Custom Socks. We make custom socks for companies all over the world. And when I say I make custom socks for companies, these are gifts that they're giving out to their clients, at trade shows, to their employees. So it's not that I'm just making custom socks. I'm really in the gifting experience. Why do companies give these gifts to other people is the question that's being asked to me a lot. And what is it about these gifts that improve business relationships? So, we make custom socks. And we came to the market and we disturbed it quite a bit with our 7-day turnaround time from Italy, very high quality socks, full Pantone matching. And this tool is being used all over the world by companies large and small as a way to attract leads and business to their business, and also just thank the customers that are doing business with them. I mean, that's another thing that I see quite a bit. Way too many times do I see somebody pitching me business and I buy it, and then all of a sudden they disappear. So this tool is used as kind of like a follow-up or a thank you gift for companies to use to thank their clients, or to use as a magnet for getting people interested in their product. So that's what I do. How we do it is a whole different story, but it's really all about, for us, the customer experience, the customer buying the socks from us and giving it away to us. That's a really big moment for us to give them the full experience and the full VIP service that they deserve from buying for us. And that's how we've differentiated ourselves. Besides the 7-day turnaround time, besides the high quality product, it's really that service. If you read our reviews, most people and a lot of people are just talking about the service, 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 because that's what they remember and that's what they really appreciate.
Got it, got it. And I want to dig deep into like your you as a person, and your upbringing, childhood, maybe some experiences. But before we move into that, let's talk about the story. Where did where did this story begin? How did you got this idea, to start this venture?
So I was already in. After I went to business school, I went to the consulting world, and after that, I found myself. I was working and running a management consulting firm, like a market research firm, and I just wanted to do something different outside of the consulting world. I saw this men's tie shop in New York City, which was from Italy, and I went to Italy and I got the rights for it, and I started to manufacture neckwear from Italy and sell it in retail stores. So I
Mhm.
had a really good background over the years of doing that in manufacturing, being able to manufacture a product, bring it in, you know, produce a product line that I'm able to sell to the end user, to the customer. And I got acquainted with Italy and the people in Italy and how they do things. And I got attracted to the quality of the work that they do. I went to a factory in Italy, which was like a 6 or 7 generation tie maker. And they're talking like their grandparents, great grandparents, and they were dreaming that their grandkids will work in the business. And this is what they do. They live neckwear. They love neckties, and
Mm.
obviously the necktie business changed quite a bit, and the market changed. But I learned from them the Italian manufacturing methods and how proud they are to do it. And we really, our company and the employees in our company really resonated with that. So that's how I started to get into it. I started to offer custom socks. I'm sorry, I started to offer socks in my retail stores under the brand Socrates, which we produced. And then obviously companies started coming to us and saying, "Hey, I love these socks. Can I take it to a trade show under my name, kind of like my brand?" So we
Mm.
started to make for them, and that's how it all started. And then it just exploded when we went online, sourcing deals from Google Ads and those type of avenues, and then everything just kind of like went viral, word of mouth, and that's how we grew the company.
Awesome. That's a very interesting story about a startup came out of learning and the actual requirement in the market, isn't it? It's not
Yeah,
something like you thought about and then experimented. It was something you're facing firsthand.
yeah. I just didn't wake up one day and like say I want to manufacture socks. There was definitely a
Yeah.
process, years and years and years of doing other things that led me to the socks. And I think that's something in people's career that they got to be open to. They got to be open to something might hit them later, or a new
Mm.
idea or something. But when that idea hits, you have to take some action and then test it, make sure that it has some proof of concept. And if it does show some traction, then you can go into it. So we were definitely open. I think that's what makes smaller companies, at the time we were a smaller company, a little bit more give the competitive advantage over sometimes bigger companies, is that they're able to make quick decisions and be able to do things in a nimble way that can lead to some success.
Mhm. And throughout your journey, since you started doing that neck wearables, and then after that you moved to the
Yeah.
socks business, were you bootstrap, or you funded the whole venture, or did you got some investment into the business? How did it all worked out for you?
Yeah, so I mean, we've definitely been approached for investment. We personally have done it from scratch. We've reinvested the profits into the business and
Hmm.
grown organically into the business. That's obviously that's a tough road. There's challenges on both sides, but
Yeah.
we thought that we could do it ourselves and grow internally. That being said, we do get approached sometimes. We just made the Inc. 5000 list, so we're getting approached by private equity companies, stuff like that, to invest in our business. But we've decided to grow organically for now at least.
Hmm.
But that could change over time. But right now we're just kind of investing the profits back, focusing on our systems, building out our systems, our automation and things like this, and just doing the best we can with the resources that we have,
Hmm.
which has been pretty good for us. And trusting each other. We have a team of about 15 people, and we're just all really aligned in what we're trying to do.
Hmm.
and everybody's trying to give the best possible service to the client and the best possible product that we can. So yeah, no, we haven't taken any foreign third party investment yet.
Hmm.
That being said, we obviously are open to it when the right time comes, and there's a new opportunity in the market to that would require significant capital to advance ourselves.
Got it, got it. And I love founders who bootstrap their business from scratch and then make something out of it so that it becomes an investable business. It's very difficult task because you have to go through all these ups and downs. So would you be able to give us a sense of the size of the business? I don't want you to share numbers or revenues or anything like that. Just to give us an idea, like how
Yeah,
big it is, your
just
customer base.
just to give you an idea, our average order is around $3,000. When I first started the business, I was kind of like, if we did 20 orders a month, that would be a nice business. Like you just kind of like, okay, you have a couple employees, it'd be a nice business. Obviously we do now hundreds of orders a month, and they come
Mhm.
from all over the world. The UK is a big market for us. Canada is a huge market for us. The US obviously is a market. And then obviously we get other deals, Germany, Australia, Israel, all these different countries are really resonating to this product
Mm.
and to the service. And what I love is that no matter where you are in the world, everybody appreciates good product and good service. That's a language that everybody speaks. So that's not something we have to recreate. We don't have to regionally do things differently. Somebody who
Yeah.
comes from Germany or Belgium needs good service the same way somebody from Canada does. So yeah, that's been great for us that we can apply the model that we have to all of these different countries and be global versus some businesses that might not work. There might be some cultural differences in what they need to do or whatever it is, but we don't
Mm.
have that. So yeah, we do a lot of business in the UK, which is a great market. It's interesting to see how different countries culturally make decisions.
Yeah.
How the people are different, but it's all the same model. And yeah, we've grown to 15 employees, and we're definitely growing. I think the most thing we're impressed with right now, we made the Inc. 5000 for our growth rate, position 263 out of
Mm.
5,000. So the growth is big. Year
Mm.
over year, month over month, the growth is just so fast. And to keep up with that, our systems have to be really, really, really good because what works for 20 orders a month is very different than what that works for 200 orders a month, which
Yeah.
of course is different than what works for 2,000 orders a month, right? So you're going to have to really, really adapt the systems to meet the demand, and that's a people thing, but also a technology, and a production capability issue and need in Italy.
Indeed, indeed. And I want to talk about this B2B client experience and automation part of it. But before we jump into that, can I ask you something? And I've never asked this to anyone on my show. Would you be able to show your sock on the screen? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can show it. Do you mind if I go and get it?
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Okay,
Yeah.
they'll let it. I guess they're gonna.
So, you got the socks for us?
Yeah, so this is a sock that we do. This is an athletic sock. As you know this brand probably very well. It's called Fanta.
Fanta.
It's a
Yeah.
Coca-Cola brand, a
Yeah.
drink. So you can see that the logo is knitted in. This is something you would wear to the gym, and it has
Yeah.
the Fanta label on it. On the back would be all the. It's as if you went to a retail store and bought this. Imagine you saw this at a retail store, you would buy it. But
Yeah.
Fanta, of course, is not selling this. Fanta is giving this out to their clients. So now,
Yeah.
anytime somebody goes to the gym, they're wearing the Fanta sock. And so that's an example of a client that we did an athletic sock for, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's an example of a very large client, Coca-Cola. We also
Mhm.
work with small mom and pop shops, like an orthodontist or like a doctor's office, or just like regular offices, all over the place, local businesses. We work with them, but we also work with obviously many Fortune 500 companies.
Mm. No, that's fantastic and amazing example. Thank you so much, Samuel, for taking time to get this talk and show it to our audience. So let's jump into this B2B experience and automation part of it. I would love to hear more about it. How you do it? How did you manage to get a team of 15 people working with hundreds of thousands of dollars of orders you have every month, and how do you optimize your productivity?
So that's been an ongoing process for us to just make sure that the flow of the business is smooth. What our goal is that whether there's whether we were working on 10 orders a month, which is long gone for us, but or we work on hundreds and hundreds of orders a month, that company experience is the same. We
Mhm.
want them to have a great experience because that's not an excuse. You can't go back to them and say, oh, well, we're working on 300 orders a month and you're one of the 300, so you didn't get the great experience. No, it doesn't matter. They need to be taken care of the way that they would have to be taken care of if that was your only order in the month. So what we do is we have project managers that are set up and that have accounts that deal with their clients on an individual basis, and they see the process through from the beginning to the end, to make sure that they're taken care of. And then we have operations managers that make sure that the stock is being produced, and quality control managers to make sure that the stock is going to the right place because we ship directly to them. Again, over hundreds and hundreds of orders, there's lots of points in this chain that you can make mistakes, and mistakes cause big messes, right? So
Mhm.
the most important thing for us is to communicate to the client, okay, this is going to take 7 days. This is the day we're going to ship. The tracking automatically goes to them the minute UPS scans, so they know exactly where their box is. They get photos if they want it of the production sample before we go to production, just in case they want to see it, because some companies are more picky than others about that. Other
Yeah.
companies just trust us. We have a full quality control process in place. But what we're really good at is this 7 day turnaround time, and each day has a step. What we're
Mm.
not good at is if in the 7 days a client needs to make a change or because our process is set up so streamlined, right?
Mm.
So as long as the client is kind of signing off on the order and giving us the approval to go, we're pretty much good to just get this order out on time. There are times the client has to make a change late or something like that. We try to work with them, but
Mm.
yeah, if you stick to our system, and our system is really, from the minute they order, our stock gets programmed, it's on the machine in Italy the next morning. So we have machines waiting to go, ready to go, that the stocks go on right away. We have access to the yarn factory in Italy, which is right across the street, so we're able to get any color very quickly. So it's just a very streamlined process.
Mhm.
And it's a very streamlined program. So in other words, the dress sock is the same every time. We don't deviate from that. And the reason we don't deviate from the model is because that's how things will get slowed down, and that's how a lot of mistakes happen. And I see that in the market. A lot of these competitors of ours, they're trying to just be everything to everyone product wise, and
Mm.
it's just like you can't scale like that. You can't scale by making a Pilates sock that's so specific to every single Pilates studio. You need to have your Pilates sock. Either the client will fit into it or not. We send them a sample beforehand, and then
Mhm.
we go.
Got it. Got it. Okay, great stuff. So let's talk about you. I'm eager to learn more about the person. Can you take us back to your roots and share
Yeah.
with our listeners about your upbringing, your childhood? How did your early experiences shape your journey and eventually led you to become a visionary entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, my wife always says, there are a few people in the world that just kind of know what they want to do from a young age, and I was definitely one of them. From a young age, little boy at home, and I grew up in Toronto, Canada, and I was always very entrepreneurial, always interested in business and how businesses compete with one another, and how you can offer a product, and how that product is then received by customers. My first experience I remember as a little kid. Everybody else was going to play baseball in the summer, and I took the opportunity and I became an umpire. So I kind of learned the skills of umpiring. And I'm a little kid. I remember I was maybe like 12 years old, and I was already umpiring like 6 or 7 year olds. And then I got to the
Mm.
point where I was like 14 years old, umpiring 18-year-olds. And you kind of learn how to make decisions because you have to make the call, and you
Yeah.
have to make decisions under pressure. I remember my father would come with me to the games because he'd always be worried that some parent was going to yell at me or something. And I actually just got really into that. And you learn a
Mm.
lot of things. You learn how to show up on time and be responsible. Like, you're young, right? So you have to figure all that out. And you have to go on time and be responsible, and you have to be accountable to your decisions, and you have to make the right calls. And if you don't make the right call, you have to kind of stand, even though you have to stand up for it, you have to have accountability to it. So I learned that pretty young, and I try to enforce that into my little children also, like, you know, trying to make decisions under some pressure, or or try to learn accountability, or try to, be on time, these kind of things. I remember there was lightning in the area, and I'm 12 years old, and I have to make a decision if we should cancel the game. These are big decisions, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that helped me in the entrepreneurial world, and that led me to, I was in high school, in a private school in high school, and I owned the vending machines. Like, of course, like, I can't
Mm.
just be in high school. I have to own the vending machines. So that taught me how to find products that people want, and how to price it appropriately, and how to deal with customer complaints, and how to deal with all this pressure of making money from my fellow students who maybe didn't love that. So there was a lot of things there, and a lot of people helped me along the way. I remember my roommate there. We
Mhm.
work together now in Socrates, and he's always helping me and stuff like that. So that was good. And then later on, I went to business school. And in business school, when they put you in that room with like-minded people, everything kind of gets supercharged at a young age. From 18 to 22, all of a sudden you're in a room of people that are thinking like you, and are competitive like you, and are kind of like mindset is similar to yours, not exact, but similar.
Mm.
So that was a great experience. And then professors, like, I have good connections with some of these professors that I went to school with, that taught me, economics, and accounting, and management, and strategy. So that kind of developed me. So it was kind of like a road. There's not just one moment where you wake up, you're going to do everything. It's a road of experiences, and you take all of these experiences, and then you bring them into the business. And then
Mm.
when you add that with, there's 14 other people in the business who have their own experiences, right? So then that's when, synergy starts to happen, and that's where magic can happen, because the number two in my company, you would take her and you would take me, and there's no overlap in skills. I mean, we are so different. She's an artist and a designer, and I'm a spreadsheet maker, making, business school kid.
Mm.
But when you put us together, and we work very, very respectfully together, and we work really well together, we started to do things that I couldn't do on my own, because she has all these talents as a designer, to set up the whole design creative aspect of the business. So when you look at our website, everything has her touch on it, because I'm not that kind of creative type.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
think that's where things start to really happen, because I could, you could do a whole podcast on her background and her whole story, how she got to where she got. And then when you merge that with us together, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, boom, it's like an explosion. And then you have, again, 13 other people that have these kind of experiences. So it's like a whole kind of like tornado brewing there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a blessing to have a very good team,
Yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
definitely see that you do have it. Great. So a lot of entrepreneurs and founders who listen to our show, Sam, is people who are either trying to get out of 9 to 5 rat race, or people who already got their seed funding for their startup, etc., etc. Some people are actually looking to get their A series also. So what I would like to take on at this point is, what are the strategies you use? But because I heard that you have a lot of competitors in your market, right? There's a new term in startup world called red ocean or something, where there's a lot of competition, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the businesses are most of the general old school businesses are like that, like pizza store, or a printing shop, or a restaurant, things like that, and they always face this challenge of having a lot of competition. So how do you tackle that, and then what are the strategies do you use in your business to generate more leads? Because B2B customers are not easy to crack first,
No, no,
you
it's
know
very difficult, very difficult, and it's also very difficult. I have a lot of respect for the. Like, you should say you're opening a pizza shop, for example. It's very difficult to get people to your pizza shop, so that's
Yeah.
also hard, right? So
Yeah.
I remember I was in retail selling neckwear, and everybody was like, "Oh, so you're downtown and you're in the financial district, so it must be easy." And I'm like, it's actually very difficult, because there's so many competitors. So it's applicable competition, and how hard it is applicable to any industry, whether you're selling pizza, or you're selling socks, or you're selling some, major tech solution, right? So
Mm.
some of the strategies that I take, is I like to be different, and I like to differentiate myself in a very clear way. And I'll give you a quick example of this and try to apply it back. When I
Mhm.
entered the market, everybody was doing made in China socks, 30-day turnaround time. That's just like was the standard. 30 days, made in China, and then that was just it. So like when we started, me and my number two, her name is Becky, we were just like, okay, I guess we're also going to be, 30 days and we're going to just, compete and get our share of the pie. And
Mm.
I saw that that's not great. Like, people are excited when they order. They don't want to wait 30 days. They
Yeah.
have deadlines. So I said to them, I said, Becky, we're going to do 1 week. We're going to get the socks in their hands in 1 week. And I remember everybody just started laughing at me. Like, are you crazy? 1 week? You're going to get the yarn. You're going to make the sock. You're going to steam the sock. You're going to put the label on. You're going to ship it. You're going to, UPS is going to carry this thing around the world in 7 days. And I said, yeah, we're going to do this in 7 days. And then we worked backwards and found the process that was needed to do that. And we didn't worry too much about the price. And our pricing is just as good as the China guys now because of the volume. But at the time, we assumed that the price was going to be higher, but we knew that there was a market for people who would respect the fact that we're moving on a very high quality product in a very timely fashion. So we just kind of like reverse engineered that. Okay. And what we went to market with was we're the fastest custom sock business in the world. Like we just had to get that message out, that loud message of like, when you come to us, everything's going to move quickly and everything's going to move smoothly. And if it doesn't move smoothly, we're going to take accountability for it because we care about you, And that's something we did. I got that from this book, this famous book called Think Like a Freak. My wife quotes it a lot because, you have to think differently, like you're taking the penalty. They had given an example. You're taking the penalty shot in the soccer game. Everybody shoots left or right, but they said statistically, it's actually the highest likelihood that you're going to score is when you shoot straight because the goalie's guessing one way. So if you go straight, it goes in, right? But nobody shoots straight because it's either left or right. And if the goalie guesses right, you might get it. But if you go straight, he's not going to go. He's not just going to stand there, right? So that's an example of thinking like a freak. You have to think differently. Okay, so I like to think entrepreneurs like to think differently. So that's not enough of a differentiator. But then when you add these loud messaging to the fact that you have something that's actually different in the market, and I've been in businesses where I just felt like I didn't have much that was different. I'm just kind of like competing for my share of the pie. When I had a market research firm, I just felt very similar to everybody. And that's why it bothered me. I was like, I'm not being able to stand out. And just saying you have good customer service is, again, not enough. It has to be the good customer service has to be the cherry on the top of the different product that like nobody else is offering. So I believe, that differentiation is just really important. And then adding everything, all the other elements. And I like to think that what makes us stand out and what is applicable to other business is trying to be the no-brainer, like trying to be like, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I go with these guys? They have the speed, they have the quality, they have all the trust badges, they have hundreds of reviews. They clearly, companies all over the world are using them. So try to get to the point where you're like, it's a no-brainer. Now that takes time and that takes a lot of work, but when you get there, then obviously magic starts to happen because all of a sudden people are trusting you, and the trust is everything in B2B. B2B trust is everything. There used to be a line when I was in business school many years ago, you can't go wrong buying IBM. Why? Because if later on IBM messes up, you could tell your boss, look, I chose IBM. I mean, I chose the market leader. What do you want from me? So there was trust in just buying IBM. Even if they mess up later, your job's not on the line because you didn't go with the untrustworthy guy from down the street. You went with the big player, right? Yeah. So not that you have to be a big player, but you have to show trust. You have to show that this was a reasonable decision to go with these people. And sometimes that's as simple as just getting back to the customer in a timely fashion. It happens so often. People reach out, people are interested. There's interest, and the vendor is not doing things properly to get the information to the client that they need. And sometimes it's as simple as that. I remember I went to a reunion and some of my business school professors were like, hey, Sam, did what we teach you in business school help you build this company? And I said, yeah, it did. But sometimes it's just common sense. You don't need an MBA to be able to figure out that, you really need to have the top customer service to compete in a red ocean. You don't need an MBA for that. That's common sense, right? Mm-hmm. So what does top service look like? If you were the customer, what would top service look like to you? And again, recreate that, re-engineer that, and make sure the most important thing in any business is consistency, because it's easy to be very consistent on 1 month, Okay. But you got to do that over years and years and years and years and hundreds and thousands of clients. So that's where businesses fail, where they're not consistent. Things just break down. Even the pizza shop, make the pizza consistent every time. So when the guy comes back, he's tasting the same thing he had the first time that he liked, So
Yeah.
these kind of things really add up,
And that's very, very difficult to do, because I know
Yeah.
that even though I pay 3 times more for Domino's, I go to Domino's because I have exactly same taste.
Yeah.
But it's not like there are lots of pizza stores in our area,
Yeah.
lots of pizza store. The problem is I do try to go to the local vendors and try to buy these things. But the issue is they keep changing the cook, which
Yeah.
I understand
No
that
good.
sometimes it's about the financials and all the other dependencies. But then for the customer, the customer is paying you 10 pounds, right, for the pizza.
Yeah.
If the customer is expecting a certain standard and that's changed because you had to change your cook, that means there is some kind of gap between either how you standardize your process so
Yeah.
that your final product comes out, or you're not conveying the proper messaging to your customers, like, okay,
Yeah.
we have changed the cook and this cook is better, Queen's Cooking Award winner or something like that. But
Yeah.
it has to be communicated, and that's why I think it's important. So how do you currently, so yeah, I come back to my question: how do you currently source or generate leads for your business, for example? So the reason I'm asking you, because this is the one of the toughest part of the business, isn't it? Generating more business. So
Yeah.
I learned that you are dependent on word of mouth, which is like you provide good service to your customers.
Yeah.
What are the other strategies you're using currently?
So the majority of our business comes in through what's called distributors. These are the middlemen. Say American Express wants to get pens and T-shirts, and they want to get other items like hats or something like that. So they go to distributor, and one of the items that they'll get from the distributor is custom socks. So we have very solid relationships with distributors, okay?
Hmm.
And these distributors trust us to be able to source and provide the socks, because they don't want to learn T-shirts, pens, mark. They just want to go to the individual experts in each product to be able to get it. So our job is to really build an army of distributors who are getting the business from the end clients, and then they feed us the business, and everybody's happy because we're doing our part in the chain, right?
Hmm.
So how do we build with that is, we meet them in person. We definitely send them a lot of samples. We offer them incentives to get their own socks for their brand, and then they use that to hand out. There's definitely a cost of acquisition for any distributor. It's an expensive endeavor. But the goal is to work with them for years and years and years. We're also in the process of taking distributors who have clients but are not selling socks, okay, and teaching them how to sell the socks so that you can convert them to become it's adoption, right? They convert them to actually start selling socks. So that would be another way that we have got a lot of business. And really, it's the word of mouth. Now, remember, people go to trade shows, they get the socks. Who made this sock? Oh, okay. They go back to the distributor. The distributor comes back to us, right? So
Yeah.
the product actually does some talking for you. Like when you drink Coca-Cola, you're like, okay, I like the product, I buy it again. So Coca-Cola has a way of getting more business, right? So when you
Yeah.
wear the sock, oh, I like this sock. Who did this? And I love the branding. Who did this? Oh, okay. Go back to the distributor, then come back to us, and then we'll get the order done. So there's a
And
lot of that referral, repeat orders, this kind of business. And then over time, that snowball starts to really grow. In the first year, let's just say you had 300 clients and, 50% are reordering. But then the second year, when you have 600 clients and 50 reordering, and that snowball just keeps kind of going.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a very good example of product-led growth, where your
Yeah.
product actually is bringing your customer to you. So this is like how your current lead generation or business sourcing coming along. Is there anything you're doing other than Google AdWords or anything online to bring customers directly to you,
Yeah,
or
I
do
mean,
you
we
actually?
do a lot of pushing on LinkedIn. We
Mhm.
do a lot of cold email outreach, which I'm a big fan of. But you do it in a very non-cold way. Like when I say cold, I mean reaching out to CEOs of these distributor companies and account managers to build a relationship with them, get them started, teach them about custom socks. We're
Mhm.
looked at as the experts, so we want to get that information to them, and then they can get that information to their clients. So we do a lot of LinkedIn outreach. We do a lot of LinkedIn content promoting. We do a lot of Google ads, obviously, which is not as good as it used to be. It's because that game is definitely harder.
Yeah.
I think that's with more competitors in the space, so we don't rely on that as much. And I do a lot of just networking, meeting with people on Zoom, explaining to them our benefits, getting them to give us a chance. And then when we get the chance, I tell my team, we got to knock that out of the park, because you don't get two chances for that, right? So just
Yeah.
when you get the chance, you're at the plate. You gotta do the best you can to get that done right.
Yeah. Yeah. Great stuff. And throughout your journey and experience, there must have been some valuable lessons learned. I mean, if you don't mind sharing, could you reflect on your experience and tell us about one mistake or a setback that you have encountered, and then along the way that you now not really regret, consider it a regret, but a lessons learned.
Yeah,
And then what
lesson for sure.
advice, yeah, what advice would you give our listeners based on that experience?
Yeah, I think you got to be able to really listen to your team. I think in the beginning, when it was just me and the number two, I just was trying to do everything. And that's the founder mentality, right? Just do everything at all times. And I'm staying late, and I'm all nighters and all this stuff, and just working like a crazy person. And that's valuable to some degree, but in a lot of ways, it's not valuable. Like, there is a lot of value in building a team, and not only building a team, but trusting that team. Not just everybody just listens to you, but really getting input from them. How can we make our system better? How can we make our automation better? How can we make our product better and our way we produce the product better? So it's now where we're at now is really an input from a lot of different people who have come together to feed in that. And that actually makes the employees and the people that work for the business much more happy, because they're not just taking direction from you, they're actually giving you things to, giving you more. So, and everybody's happier when they're pitching in, so that would be the number one thing that I think I lagged in a little bit in the early days of Socrates, was just trying to do everything, trying to think in my head that I'm the only person that can do it. And then realizing that, wait a minute, there's lots of other people that can do what I do. And relying on them to do those tasks and to take ownership of that, and then circling back on that, and then giving them the empowerment to do it, and then seeing how well they did it. And at this point, the project managers are much better at their role than I would be at their role, because they're able to focus on it from 10 hours a day or whatever it is. So I think that's one thing I learned, and I'm doing a better job with it. It's not easy. It's like a baby, right? It's not easy to give up your baby, but you have to do it to be successful. And sometimes I see that, like, sometimes what's holding back a company from really growing is the CEO himself, because he's just trying to, hoard all the work, and then
Yeah,
he's
keep it
not
to
letting it. He's not
yeah.
letting it go and letting it out in the world to grow on its own. It's like you're trying to plant the seed and grow the seed, but there's other people that can help you do that. So that would be
Yeah.
my advice.
Got it. Great. And I'm enjoying this conversation so much, but we are limited of time, so we have to wrap up at some point. But let's get into our lightning round. I've got 6 quick fire questions for you, and then you can answer them as quickly as you can.
Okay, great.
Great. Okay. So number 1, what's the top 3 important characteristics or features or things you want entrepreneurs to focus on building relationship with their customers?
So to build relationships, you need trust. Trust is number one. You need to be able to get their trust, just get them to trust you. And you need to be honest, and transparent. I think you got to be very clear what you can and cannot do with your clients. If you overpromise and underdeliver, it's just not going to work. And another thing is you have to be grateful. Like, clients, I notice when you grow a business, there's this tendency to take clients for granted if you have thousands of clients, but you have to take every client and appreciate them and be mindful that these are very hard to get, these clients, and they're very hard to impress. And if you have that mindset for every single client, then you're going to appreciate them. You're going to have some gratitude to them. So I think those are 3 aspects that you can focus on when you get a client and as you get clients in your business.
Got it. What book would you recommend to our audience, and why?
My favorite book is how to How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I'm kind of like
Yeah.
into these old school books, like these classics.
Hmm.
Everybody's into the new stuff these days, but like I just feel like if you're reading all of these books and you haven't read that book 5 times, then you're missing out on a lot. So I always, my son is I have an 11-year-old son, and he's not going to do it yet, but I'm driving him crazy. I'm like, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. And he's like, Dad, this book was written in like 1955. Like that's older than you. And I'm like, yes, much older than me, but these are the classic books that really set up the model for this kind of stuff. But that's a great book. And then obviously, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living is also a great book. So I'm a big Carnegie fan.
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think I've read it very, very long back ago, but I think I have to reread it again.
Yeah, I read it every couple of years. I read it.
Yeah, yeah. What's one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Successful founder, I think. Um, I think patience is big. I think you have to have some patience because things are going to take longer than you expect them to take, and you have to be able to see that out. If you're too, quick to maneuver and too quick to change routes and stuff like that, sometimes they struggle as a founder, I think. So patience, let the business breathe a little bit, let it grow, set up things and see how it goes. Like you're going to put out Google ads, you're probably not going to get leads in 10 minutes. You're not going to create a profitable Google ad strategy in a day, right?
Yeah,
So, or a Facebook strategy. There's going to be some breathing space that's needed and tweaks and patience to be able to kind of maneuver that. And then eventually, if you do all that, then you have a good shot of making it successful. You can also not be successful, but you have a good shot at it.
yeah, yeah. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
It's funny because I used to be pretty old school and like I used to write everything down. It's kind of a business school thing. I would write everything down. But nowadays, obviously, I'm big into Salesforce. We're really into making sure that everything is on Salesforce. I like to wake up early, work a little bit and not check my emails like every hour, just every minute, kind of like batch the emails. I think that's productivity pretty good when you only check your emails maybe once an hour
Mm,
because you can reply to all the emails. So that saves you a lot of time. It's hard though, because most people are checking it. But I think between those ones, that would be my favorite.
awesome. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would like to pursue if you had
Yeah,
time?
my wife and me talk about this a lot, and it's kind of a joke, but kind of not a joke. So I'm terrible in the kitchen, cannot cook anything. I grew up in a home where, like I was not allowed in the kitchen, and everybody was doing it for me, and then my wife doesn't let me in there, so I'm just not good at it. It's nothing to do with the roles or anything. I'm just not great at it, and I don't know how to turn on an oven. I don't know anything. But my dream business, if I would ever exit Socrates or anything, was to actually open up my own popsicle store because I'm obsessed with popsicles.
Okay.
So I would actually like make like high quality popsicle brand and open up stores and maybe franchises around the country. And I always talk about that. Like that's my real business idea. But my wife is actually kind of getting a little tired of it because I come home for years and years and years talking about a new business. I had like, white teeth and eat in the mall, or like a fried chicken business, or like, I wanted to make the highest end men's shaver in the market. Like I'm talking about like high end. We go to Germany or some country in Europe and find the top engineering to make a shaver, and like we're talking like $1,000 shaver, electric shaver. And my wife's like, "You're
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know what you're talking about." So I've had a lot of crazy ideas. Private jet business, like some of these are crazy, but yeah, nowadays I'm trying to just focus on socks. That's actually another thing that I have a weakness in. I'm always trying to jump to another idea, so I'm trying to just stay focused on the socks. And my number two in the company, her name is Becky. She
Mm.
actually listens to my business ideas and just says no to all of them because she just wants me to focus on the socks. I want to open a
Yeah.
car wash.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. And last but not least, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Well, that that's funny. So I think a fun fact about me, I don't know. Everybody looks at me like I'm kind of like a born entrepreneur. That's all I care about is, business. And as a kid, all my friends would be like, okay, Sam, no more business talk. Or we can't drive with Sam on a long road trip because all he talks about is business and like how to monetize things and how to make money. But I think that fun fact is that I'm not. I don't think about it as much as I think that people think I think about it. Like that's kind of like my
Okay.
label within my community and my friends is like Sam. So everybody who comes up to me, all they talk about is business because they think that I want to talk about that. But I
Yeah.
also have other interests, you know, and I think I'm big into comedy and big into telling jokes and just sometimes not talking about business. So I think that that would be a fun fact that people wouldn't know is that
Mm.
sometimes, you know, I do have another side to me where I don't talk about all that stuff because most people that just randomly come up to me who know me a little bit, okay, the only thing they're talking about is business, assuming that that's what I'm into, you know, which is fine. I am into it, but it's not the only thing I'm into. You know, I'm very into my kids. I'm very into family life, you know, like this kind of stuff, you know.
You know what? You just tell me what you could do is you can start the first Canadian sock community.
Yeah.
People with weirdest socks come along and talk about
Yeah.
socks, and then potentially have like the big event around that community every year, and then
I love that
distribute
idea.
prizes.
I think it's a
You
good
know,
idea.
like
Just make a
first, second,
sock world, you know, sock world
yeah,
2025, you know, and everybody just comes and just talks socks, you know.
talk about it, and then you will become like the sponsor of it and the biggest
Yeah,
person.
sponsored by Socrates. Yeah, and then everybody takes a booth, you know, and we'll do our socks. Yeah, exactly. Self-funded. Yeah.
Great. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing your
Thank you.
story and packing your last years of up and down. If people want to check out your website, your surveys, or
Yeah.
get in touch with you for some advice, what's the best way to do it?
Sure. Best way is just go to our website. It's Socrates, SOCKRATES, like sock rates, custom.com. And
Mhm.
everything's really self explanatory over there. We make it really simple. So you can go to SocratesCustom.com and then just click get started and it will come out to our team. Or, of course, you can email me anytime at SAM, SAM, at Socrates, SOCKRATES, and then .ca, Charlie Albert. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. But we'd love to hear from people. You know, if anybody just wants to see designs, there's no obligation. Sometimes just seeing the socks come alive is a great way to get started. And or if you want to discuss different use cases, like different ways that you can use the socks, because we have, you know, we put them in boxes for sales conferences and obviously trade shows is big, employee giveaways, but also fundraising events. And, you know, we get a lot of not-for-profit. So there's a lot of different ways that we use the sock to service the clients who eventually give it away or sell it or whatever they do with it, you know?
Got it. Got it. Great stuff. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing with the socks. Okay.
Thanks
It's
so
been an
much. Thanks so much.
absolute
Thanks for having
pleasure.
me. And
It's
pleasure to be on.
absolutely.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Great stuff. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Founders Podcast. I hope you found our conversation with Samuel insightful and inspiring. Do not forget to check out his socks website and email him at sam@socrates.ca. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Great. If you're a founder or industry expert interested in sharing your story on our podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out. Simply email me at ash@artcircles.com. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated on future interviews with proven founders and industry experts. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.